Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. It is the first week of November, first full week, and which means that it's election week, which got me thinking a lot about a lot of stuff, specifically politics and power and um, all of that stuff. I'm surprised at what happened here. We have a Michigan, where I live, is a state that was severely locked down during all the COVID stuff, which was not very long ago. And in most cases, our citizenry chose to reelect the people who did that, which blows my mind. It surprises the crap out of me. But that most of that doesn't affect me. Thankfully, I chose to move away from the population centers where people who think like that, people who are afraid, um, and they let their fear make most of their decisions for them. They tend to congregate around other people like that. They think there's strength in numbers, so they all stay in the cities. And I like to rely on myself and not outsource my protection, outsource my most of my food, outsource my ability to make my own money to other people. I choose to do that myself, and I live as a result around a ton of other people who think exactly the same way. I looked at how I voted, and the results in my county. Basically, everything I voted for was everything everybody in my county voted for. It was crazy. Like I am where I belong, which is awesome. I never really felt comfortable in the population centers down by the cities. Because again, you've got a lot of people who are very afraid. They think it's the government's job to take care of them. They aren't comfortable relying on themselves for most things. They expect the police to defend them for everything they do. Have no real self-reliance. Not a lot of self-reliance is the main thing. Not a thing valued by people who live in cities. Um, and it's not me. So anyway, I'm right where I belong, which is cool. I'm disappointed, like I said, the way that I live in a state that chose to plant the way that it did, but whatever. I don't like to, let that stuff get to me. I had a great workout this morning, banged it all out, and I feel a lot better. I know that, I live here now. I'm good. But anyway, that all that stuff got me thinking about power. In the last show, I talked specifically about strength. And I think the difference between strength and power, they're oftentimes used synonymously, but they are not synonymous. They are not the same thing. I would tell you this is the difference. Strength is your potential ability. How able are you to handle things that are going to come your way? How able are you to be able to impact the world around you should you need to? And I'd say that power is you actually doing it. Power is, well, the definition is this, political power specifically. It's the ability to influence others and control access to resources, which why the hell anybody would want to do that blows my mind. To control access to resources to me strikes me as we're going to stop people we don't like from having what they need and make sure the people we do like, they have what they need. Maybe I'm misreading that. It's open to interpretation, of course. The ability to influence others, I mean, I could see that being valuable to anyone, but I would tell you that the political power is the ability to influence people that you don't know. Which, Plato he said, those who seek power are not worthy of that power. And I would tell you that's absolutely the case. If you have a hunger for power, if you have a hunger for, hey, look at me, um, that's a fault in your own character. That's how that goes. I would tell you that our governor here in Michigan, that's what she is. She's very power hungry. Really thought she was going to be the vice president during 2020 and really did a lot of things to try to get people to pay attention to her so that she could be that vice president. But, her own party, who values what you look like over who you really are, told her no um, because she didn't look the right way. So she didn't get that vice presidential position, and doesn't matter. And she changed at that point. I don't know. I keep going back to my state politics because that shit just happened. That's really not what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about you and your ability to utilize your power to improve the world around you, of course. I mean, that's always the goal, right? Uh, Plato also said this. He said, the people always have some champion whom they set over them and nurse into greatness. And I'll translate that. Um, those people who use other people as their leverage to get into power, like, hey, I only want to go into power so I can do great things for this group. So I can do great things for that group. So I can do great things for women or minorities or whatever it is. If that's what you're using, if you're saying this is why you want to get into power, um, well, let me just finish the quote. This and no other is the root from which a tyrant springs. He first appears, he first appears as a protector. And that's been across the board. That's how tyrants have gotten into office. They go into office saying that they're representing some underrepresented group of people. That's how they get into power. And then once they're in power, they don't give a shit about that group anymore. Now they're in power. And that's all they care about. I finished a book. I just finished a book called The Dictator's Handbook. And there's two versions of it, or two like iterations. One of them's very recent. I read the most recent one. Really eye-opening about what it is to be in power. Essentially, um, again, like I said, once you're there, it doesn't matter which side you're on. Once you're there, your primary concern is staying there, um, especially as a dictator. It's the same thing as a Democrat, as somebody who lives in a democratic society. I don't mean Democrat like the party. I mean, like you live in a democratic society, you got to, everything you do has to be about making sure people see what you're doing and it's good, and so that you get voted back in. And the old adage, hey, you can't help the country, you can't help the state, you can't help the whatever the thing is that you got elected to do if you're not there to do it. So, that's why these people, I think, leverage, or that's how they rationalize constantly just trying to stay in power instead of doing shit. And this dictator's handbook specifically said that the governance of the people, it's like the last priority for any leader, like taking care of people. There, it took so much power and money, and all these favors and shit to get them into office. That once they're into office, I mean, those are the people who are keeping them there, all these people who did the favors. So once they're in office, you have to spend all your time making sure you're keeping these people happy, or they're going to give that support and power to someone else who will replace you. So that makes sense to me. I don't like it, but it does make sense. It reminds me of when I was talking to one of my college professors, and he told me that a college professor's got three jobs, um, and only one of them is to teach, and it's the least important of the three with regard to keeping his job. Um, and one was publish. You've got to publish shit. Teach was the second one, and I can't remember what the third one was. Like further his own. Oh, research. You've got to do research. So it was those three things, and teaching was the least important because the people who worked for the university kind of didn't give a shit about that. And those people who worked for the university were the ones who hired them, and they're the ones that are going to keep them in their job. So there's like this conflict of interest there. You know what I mean? And to that extent, so I understand this thing about power, right? Why would you deal with helping out people if they're not the ones who are going to keep you in office? I mean, if the powerful people who got you there can kind of control the votes, well, then you got to kowtow to them. So from a logical standpoint, I understand it, but there's no part of that I like, not one bit. Um, Plato said those who seek power are not worthy of that power. And there was a guy called Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus. He was a Roman guy. He was around, I don't know, 450 BC is when he was around in Rome. And he was a dude who was well respected in his community. And he caught the attention of the Senate and the government at the time. And they came to him while he was plowing his field, running his farm, and said, we need you for X, Y, and Z. And out of loyalty, and we'll talk about loyalty a little bit more in a minute, out of respect and love for his country, for Rome, he left his plow in the field, put on his senatorial toga, and went and did what he had to do, and within 15 days, victorious days, he defeated whomever he needed to defeat. He went immediately back to his farm. Within 15 days, he was back, right back on that plow, right where he left it. And he did that twice. The second time there was uh, some kind of a wheat famine or something. He stepped in and fixed that too, and immediately went back to his farm. Um, and some people say that's a legend or a myth. But so fucking what, man? I mean, here's a guy who didn't want to do it, but he was pressed into service, and out of respect, loyalty, whatever it is, he went and did his job as a citizen, and then went back to being a citizen. Uh, they say that it didn't happen, but I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, it's like any myth or legend. The story serves an incredible purpose. It rallies the citizens. There's a person or a thing or a whatever, an idea to get behind that unites people, something that brings you together as a team. That this is a concept I use all the time as a football coach. What's going to bring these guys together so that the name on the front of their shirt has the importance that it needs? I always tell the guys that you're playing for the name on the front of your jersey, not the name on the back. The name on the back is just you. The name on the front, that's your whole team. Shit, it's your whole school. It's your whole town. Like that's a big deal. You're representing a lot. These colors that you're wearing. You know what I mean? It's red and black, or orange and black, or blue and gold. Green and white. I worked at several schools. Your community is why you're out there. When you have a thing, a purpose that's bigger than you can accomplish some amazing shit. I think that's what Cincinnatus did. He had that purpose that was bigger than him, and it was his home. I'm reading another book right now. It's called On Violence. This guy's talking about how you know committing to violence is such an unusual act, and it's something that's dirty and hidden and not accepted in our society. But hey, sex was that for a long time. It's exactly the same. Sex is how you create life, and killing's how you stop life. And we live in a world right now where violence is like it's super fucking taboo. I mean, I'm not gonna, bullshit you. I included violence as one of the bold print items on the cover of my book because I knew it would rattle some cages. It was gonna fire people up. It gets attention. And anyway, what this guy finds through the research that he's doing, and he's a war veteran and he's done all this shit, is that the thing that is most devastating to any person, it's not being on the field of battle and losing your buddies or even worried about losing your own life. It's having your home destroyed. Nothing will motivate you more than defending your home, or after your home is destroyed, nothing will take you down further than that will. Does that make sense? So now you can think about like Afghanistan. Shit, they've been in constant war for who knows how long. That was the Russian Vietnam. They went there and got their asses kicked. They were a superpower, got their ass kicked. We went there, got our ass kicked just recently. 20 years we were there. I don't know how much we accomplished, but I know we left with our tail between our legs. I can tell you that. And that's because those people were defending their homes. It's a hell of a motivator. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, again, Cincinnati, same thing. He was defending his home. He saw the whole country as his home. George Washington, they called him the American Cincinnatus because the same thing. I mean, it's almost identical story. Twice he left his farm to lead armies, of our republic, and we got you all. Everybody knows where he ended up. He ended up becoming our first president. And same thing. It was like, hey man, this is your duty. If you love your country, this is what we need from you. At some point after the British were defeated in the Revolutionary War, that's the thing that George Washington did. You guys can thank him that you're not eating overcooked beef and being okay with having real bad teeth, like you would if you were in England. Um, they offered him the kingship of America. They're like, you can be the king. And he said, speak of this never again, or something. He basically said, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. And him doing that, um, it led to two things essentially. It meant that our country was not going to be led by military. That the military was going to be like an arm of the government. It wasn't going to be the government. I think you guys have seen that before, that the most powerful guy takes over the country. Now you got a dictatorship, and it's no different than what they left in England, right? It's an arm of the government. They were big on by the people, for the people, of the people, right? And Washington believed in that. He had a vision. He knew what he wanted this new country to be. And so he acted in that way. He's like, well, right, so I am the right guy to do this. I am the best guy to leave my farm and go do whatever needs to be done so that we can be free of England and be where we want to be overall. He figured that out. He's like, all right, this is where I have to because I love my country and have a vision of what it can be after my help. Having that vision, um, it's huge. And beyond that, just like Cincinnatus, he becomes a rallying point. He becomes a thing that people can get behind. He becomes a thing that bonds people instead of dividing them. Um, and fuck, it's damn important. I mean, look at our country right now. Shit, I was listening to uh, a guy on the Joe Rogan podcast this morning on my way back from the gym. It's a guy who started a thing called Substack, which is like a place where writers can be very free, freedom of speech, etc., like that. We're, I don't really fully understand it, but he said that. He said that our country is very divided in a lot of ways. And he just gave us one example. He said, look at Twitter. He said the most successful tweets are not the ones that get everybody on your side um, excited and rallying around you and fired up. They are not also the ones who just strictly piss off the side that you don't agree with. Best tweets, the most successful tweets are the ones that do both, that effectively rally one side and piss off the other side, right? Which creates division. And that's a perfect example of how social media is fucking up. It's certainly not helping our country. It's serving to divide who we are as people. And I think that elections are a perfect way to see, how divided we really are. I saw a graphic today. One of my former students posted this, and it was a map of Illinois, and it was essentially it's Cook County that Chicago is in. In Illinois, if you know anything about it, it is all farm country, like super rural. Like John Deere was founded in Illinois, International Harvester was founded in Illinois. All these tractor companies, like it is a farm state, but they have Chicago and Cook County and a couple of surrounding counties right there. They make all like however they vote, that's what happens for the whole state. Like those farmers can't concealed carry weapons because of all the dipshits in Chicago, right? And I'm not talking shit about how our system works here in the US. It is the best system ever created in the history of humans. How our representation happens, how our government is structured, how all that happens. It's the best system ever created. It's been around for, almost 250 years. Pretty damn impressive. But I am telling you, it's got weaknesses, and that's one of them. Michigan's no different. Shit, Southeast Michigan, fucking bunch of inner city people make the decisions for all of us rural people. Which, I mean, it's numbers, right? There's more people who choose to live down there, as I talked about at the very beginning. Uh, but if you look at the area, shit, like I'm 200 miles from those people. It's almost inappropriate for their decisions to affect me, right? It's equally inappropriate for my decisions to affect them. You go back to the Civil War, everybody wants to talk about slavery, and that was certainly a part of it. But the main issue there was states' rights. The Union wanted a very strong federal government that basically controls everything, and states don't really have a lot of power. They only operate within the parameters that the federal government sets. And that's what we have. You guys take it for granted like that's just normal, but what the South wanted was states' rights. They wanted a tiny, very loose federal government that only sought to in the smallest way bind together the states and let the states all make their own decisions. Almost like they were other countries. Like federal government's gonna make your currency for you. They're gonna maintain an army to protect you. They're gonna, do some things like that that are important, but they're not. making shit tons of social laws. Like our federal government still has pot illegal. Uh, Up until Roe versus Wade got overturned, they were deciding what you could do with your body. The federal government. You know what I mean? In Washington D.C., a place I've never even been to, they're going to tell me how I should. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that you have. I say this all the time. Like, we're trying to help revive masculinity so that men will build their kingdoms. And I define your kingdom all the time. Your kingdom is your circle, the people who are closest to you, your family, the people you work with, your neighbors, your friends. It's not that big. It's not a lot of people, but they are your kingdom. And are you like Cincinnatus? Are you like George Washington? Are you going to do your duty because you know it needs to happen? Or are you going to do things just to seek praise and I mean, we all as men, we work that way. Like praise fuels us for sure. Are you going to be power hungry? Are you going to try to seek power so that you have control over people you've never met and don't know? I mean, that's the difference. How are you going to impact that? How are you going to use your power to make your world better? I think about when I was coaching and one, two, three, four. I've had 5 head coaching positions in my life. 5 between track and football. And I applied for none of them. Not one. All 5 of them, a man came to me and said, I need you to do this. You are the best guy for it, and I need you to do it. And every single time I said no, initially, I said, no, I'm not, I don't want to do it. And every single time that guy said to me, Travis, I'm telling you, this is the best spot for you. You'll make a big impression. You'll be able to impact this. You'll do a great job. You are the best fit. And I always said no because I was like, I don't think I am. I don't think I'm the best fit. Also, I don't give a fuck about power. I've always said that shit when I was at Grand Blanc, my most recent coaching position. We all know how that ended. I was from the very beginning. I've always said I don't ever want to be a head varsity football coach again, head varsity anything coach, because I've been there and it's a bunch of bullshit I don't want to deal with. It's a bunch of drama. It's a bunch of politics. It's a bunch of things that are not coaching and leading kids, helping young men be better at being men. And that's really the only thing I care about. I use football as a tool. I use track and field as a tool to help these young men develop the habits that are going to make them successful adult men. That's it. That's the only thing I really give a fuck about with all that. I mean, football's cool. Track and field's fun. I had a great time. I really did. I enjoyed learning the strategy of it. Football's a thing that you'll never know all of it when it comes to football. It's too big. There's 22 guys out there. Every one of them's got all these intricacies about what they're doing, and there's so many choices about coaching and strategy and shit like that. It's like playing guitar. It's limitless. I mean, and I like that about it. Playing golf, you'll never be perfect at that, right? So I do like that. But again, that's what these men had to convince me of, that, hey, man, you're going to be able to really impact some kids here. This is where your character and leadership can shine. This is where you can help the most, you know? And out of respect and pride in the colors that I was wearing as a coach and in the community that I represented as a teacher in most cases, I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I always had success. I was good at what I did. As a coach, I always had success. I enjoyed it. It was fun. You know, I like winning. I like developing kids. Who doesn't like winning? It's fucking awesome. Where in your life are you doing that? Where are you exercising power to make people around you better? Can you look around at your neighborhood and say, I made it better than it was? You know, I talked about this a few shows ago about how when you keep your yard nice, eventually you're going to see people starting to keep their yards a little bit nicer too. And that's you improving in a very small way, but still important. That's you improving your kingdom. If you go out and you bring a loaf of banana bread to each one of your neighbors for Christmas or whatever, what do you think's going to happen the next year? You know what I mean? When you set that precedence, you raise that bar, you're going to improve the stuff around, you're going to improve what's around you. Um, you got a million opportunities as a father, right? When your son makes a mistake, you better let him know about it, right? And then give an attaboy, tell him he's going to be all right, and you'll do better the next time. When they do things right, you do the same thing. You get behind them and say, hey, nice job. I'm proud of you. And another reason why I like football so much is I say this all the time, and it's true that what you celebrate in film study, that's who your team's going to become. If you are just showing clips of the touchdowns that they ran or the big plays, then guys are going to get real selfish. They're going to try to be big play guys. I like to, in film, I like to talk about blocking. Look at this, guys. Let's wind this back. Yeah, nice run, number 3. But look at this block here by number 1. If he doesn't set this block and hold it as long as he does, the touchdown doesn't happen. Look at this pull by this guard right here. Look at him blow this dude up on this trap. That's why this play went 8 yards and didn't get blown up in the backfield, because of that block right there. Um, Shit like that. The people who did their job, the backside outside linebacker who stayed home and stopped the touchdown because he didn't just go chasing the damn thing upfield like most idiots do, right? Who you celebrate on film, that's who you become. And it's no different than who you are at work. That's who the people around you are going to want to be. At least the ones with any kind of self-confidence, with any kind of desire to be good at what they do, right? It's the truth. I talk about it all the time. Power isn't it's not a thing to be sought out. If you find yourself seeking it, fucking question yourself. Unless it's a situation where you see the person who's doing it is just half-assing it or um, not representing their constituency. I go back to the damn state politics. All the lockdowns happened, and one of my buddies was like talking about our governor who just fucking locked down everything. She made lawn crews illegal. She made going to Home Depot illegal. She made traveling within the state up north into the rural parts of my state. She made that illegal. It was ridiculous. And he told me, well, I like that she doesn't mind making the hard decision, doing the thing that's unpopular. You know what I mean? It's a nice concept, it's a nice thing to say, but buddy, that's not how representative government works. We voted you in there to do what we want. It's not once you're there, you decide you're our parent and you just do what you think is best, not what we want. You're governing adults. You're not a parent leading children, right? And as a teacher, I get caught in that mindset a lot. You can't. Like, like when I'm dealing with the guys on my paint crew, they're all adults. I can't run them. I can't lead them. I can't guide them like I would kids. It's inappropriate. It's condescending. It's disfucking respectful. Which is another reason why I can't understand how she got fucking reelected. I think the Republican Party just shit the bed. I didn't see any ads talking about all those fucking lockdowns. Not one. No wonder the Republican lost. The person who was running here in Michigan. No wonder, man, that was your perfect hot button. He didn't use it. Um, anyway, yeah. So if you're not representing your constituency within your job, you got people working for you, and their needs aren't being met. Well, fuck. Maybe you shouldn't be there. Or if you see somebody who's doing that, maybe they shouldn't be there. Maybe that's where you can step in and do it better. Don't do it for the notoriety. I mean, getting a raise, getting a promotion, you make more money. That's good for your family. But power, let me tell you, it sucks. It gets old pretty quick. It's a shit ton of dealing with whiny fucking adults. You know what I mean? That's usually what it means to be in power. As a coach, it was my biggest issues were never the kids, the things that I would have to deal with that sucked. Even, the parents sucked sometimes. But the biggest issues I ever had were dealing with other coaches. Like they were fucking drama. You know what I mean? And man, the more power you're in, the more people you're representing, the more of that shit you're gonna have to do. This doesn't sound appealing to me. It probably doesn't to you either, but yeah, that's power. It's different than strength. Build yourself, make yourself as strong as you can, but when power comes your way, have some perspective. whatever it is that you're going to have power over, you better respect it, love it, care for it, want it to be better than it was when you got there. Okay? Know that have a vision of what you want it to look like when you leave, and then aim everything at that. Leave it better than you found it. Yeah, power. Woo! My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. If you haven't done it yet, I wrote a book called Reviving Masculinity. It is on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. It's at my publisher, which is Palmetto Publishing out of South Carolina. Go out there and buy that damn thing if you would, please. Go to my website, travisneville.com. You can get autographed copies of both my books. You can get the new t-shirt. I'm wearing one right now. The new t-shirts have the podcast logo on the back. They have all the blue-collar clothing logos, including a non-retreating flag on the right arm, which is a nod to the military and this great country that we live in. And most importantly, across the chest, it says in bold letters, Ideal Man. If you are that, if you aspire to be that, buy one of these shirts and wear it proudly. And if you ask me, I will sign it for you. Not that that really means that much, but shit. You wouldn't believe what kind of shit I've signed in my life over this stuff. It's pretty crazy. Um, anyway, yeah, go to the website, buy some shit from me if you would, please. I hope that this episode about power helps you in some way to get your shit together. Have a great week.